Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to our next episode of Game Show Talkin' Fun. Once again, I am Yoko, alo-
And I'm Dick Clark Fan 1.
and joining us is our new co host to our podcast here. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I am intrepid host BM Hedgehog at your service, ladies and gentlemen.
Ah, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, thanks for inviting me.
Uh,
Oh, you're welcome.
yep. And
Okay.
I'm guessing, as you can tell by today's title, we are talking about one of the best game shows ever created, other than Pyramid.
If not the best game show of all time.
Right.
I
We're
know
talking,
it's hotly arguable, but
but we're talking about about the early incarnations of what they call Press Your Luck. Today we're
Mhm.
talking about its predecessor and the 1980s version.
Mhm.
Whammy and the 2019 version will get their own episode at a future date, folks.
Right. But first, as always, we do have to deal with our topic of smash or trash for tonight.
Okay. Smash or Trash tonight is going to consist of first off, it's been announced, Michael Davies has expanded the tournament to Jeopardy. That will feed into the Tournament of Champions. Um,
Hmm.
so, if it's okay to use names, Brandon, Smash or
Hmm.
Trash for expanding the tournaments.
Oh, I like that a lot. Let's give that a smash.
Okay.
Yep, same
Uh,
here. The more people, the better.
Now,
Mhm.
now I was mentioning to a few people about this. The consensus among all the fans is that there have been so many super champions as of late. This was the only fair thing to do was to expand the tournament of champions.
Why not do something like what they did back in the day for the Super Jeopardy tournament?
Yeah.
I don't know if that would work.
Hmm. That might be doable. I don't
Right.
know.
But the way I see it is this: if we have, let's say, how many Super Champions were there for the Super Jeopardy tournament?
Ooh,
I'm not sure how many.
I would have to look that up.
Yep, I'm
What
gonna.
they Yeah, we'd have to look that up real fast.
Yep.
But second chance tournament. You've got the teachers tournament. You've got the tournament of losers. You've got
Teen
Tour-
tournament.
the
the
team
tour
tournament, the
the
college championship.
I'm gonna take the tournament of losers. That's didn't they get that from Super Password?
Yes. But you got the second chance tournament, the tournament of losers, the teachers tournament, the team tournament, the college championship tournament.
Mhm.
All of these are now going to feed into the
It was
tournament of champions.
it was 36 contestants.
36 champions up to that point.
Right. So if we get something like 36 super champions, we could just do the tournament like that. You have that normal first week of the tournament. All you have four players come out in no random order. All right. Have them compete.
Going.
The winner moves on, and the two highest become the wild card. Correct?
No, there's no wild card now. Win or you're out.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think they did away with the wild cards.
Yeah, the wild cards are gone. Win or you're out.
All right. And then just do it that way. 36 goes down to, your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday episodes. They all compete to go on the Thursday and Friday episodes, and the final is still a 2-day affair.
Well, even now, that's no good because the Tournament of Champions is now a best of 7. First to win 3 games wins it all.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Davies changed that too.
Yeah, ever since season 39, from what I'm seeing here on the Wikipedia.
Yeah.
See, I'm not going to question it because I don't want to get on bad terms with people.
Well,
So
Can't
hold
say I
on.
mind you.
I'll leave it at that. That's a discussion with
for the
everyone
Jeopardy
here
episode.
off air. Off
That's
the
a
record.
discussion for the That's a discussion for the Jeopardy episode.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And off the record here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll save that for another time.
Right.
Now, season 3. Now, another Smash or Trash subject. Brandon, season 3 of Weakest Link with, oh God, her name's right
Jane
on the tip of my
Lynch.
tongue. Jane Lynch as host.
Well, to be perfectly honest, since I have not seen any of the Weakest Link with Jane Lynch, I really can't truly chime in on this particular subject.
Okay. All right, then. Scott.
I've seen some of the clips. She's making it her own. She learned from Anne. She learned how to be sarcastic like that, and she's using her comedic background.
She brings comedy to it.
Yes. And sarcasm, because you need to be sarcastic with that show.
Yes.
She was pretty good as the voice of, I think, Sergeant Houlihan from the Wreck-It Ralph movie.
Yes.
That was interesting. She did pretty good with that.
Okay.
And also, she was on Glee.
Yeah, she was one of the main characters on Glee. And had Hollywood Game Night before becoming the host on Weakest Link.
Yeah, I always wanted to go on that show, Hollywood Game Night.
Now, let's one more Smash or Trash subject. They brought back, 2 shows. We're going to talk about 2 quick Smash or Trashes. Brandon, The Wall. Should we even be talking about it? I mean, simplistic by pretty much standards. A trivia version of Plinko. Is this a Smash or Trash?
Oh, I definitely smash it because when I did actually see The Wall, a few episodes of it, I enjoyed it. To have a trivia game show based version of Plinko, oh yeah, smash that baby to bits.
I agree.
Okay. Oh, there is a lot of Smash or Trash we can talk about here, and we could really spend a lot of time talking about just Smash or Trash tonight.
Well, we could make that into our next up. We could make that into an episode.
Or maybe a spin-off podcast, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm letting the cat out of the bag here on this. All right, but we have some about 2 weeks ago, the revival of Split Second appeared on Game Show Network. Let's wrap up Smash or Trash. Brandon, Smash or Trash, the remake of Split Second.
Well, I did not see any of it, but from the let's say supposed rumors I've heard, I would put that right in the trash can.
Okay. I've seen it. I don't like it. it's not very good, in my opinion. Uh, I have to give it a trash. And Scott, I know you haven't seen it yet.
And I will not watch it. So,
Okay.
but put that into a dumpster, light it on, put that into an oil drum, light that oil drum on fire, stick it in a dumpster, and throw it into the East River
and
with
watch it
cement
go,
with cement overshoes.
and
Very cool.
watch it sink faster than an unwanted pregnancy on prom night.
I was gonna say the Titanic.
But I think what I said would go down faster than the Titanic.
It
True,
just
but
it just doesn't work, in my opinion.
Mm.
well, you know what? To borrow from our good friend Cindy Seidelman,
Hmm.
I don't have an award in front of me, but I'd like to present to the host the Waney Award.
Okay. We'll
Oh,
leave it
I,
at
there we
that.
go.
Cindy,
I
if you're listening,
Yep.
we'll leave it at that. So, Cindy, if you're listening, thanks for the ideas. You know, if you want to come on the show sometime, give us a call.
Yep. Always welcome.
Hmm.
I will say this: the new version of Split Second, it needs to go up there on oh, what does Cindy do?
The game show garbage,
Yeah,
basically.
it needs to go up there.
Even though it's now called game show gumbo.
But it needs to be inducted into the game show garbage Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Let's go. Let All right.
Too
One
bad
more.
I don't have that opening to play.
Okay. One more. One more. Okay. I
Okay, one
have to
quickie.
address. Yeah, I have to
Yeah,
address.
right.
Okay.
The Mole,
Ooh.
revived by
Alright.
Netflix.
Okay, well, I know I haven't seen it, so I really can't chime in on that one either.
I used to watch the original one with Anderson Cooper.
Okay. All right
So,
then. Saying that nobody here said it, we'll leave it at that. We
well,
will talk about the mole in a
yeah.
future episode.
Well, considering also none of us have probably a Netflix account.
Well, true.
Yeah, I want to try to get Netflix back because I want to watch the Power Rangers Once and Always special.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple.
It's the
Well,
first. It's really the first movie that since Nickelodeon has taken, since Nickelodeon and Hasbro has taken ownership of Power Rangers.
right.
Yeah.
Well,
And
there's one
also, I
of
wanted
the
to see the Sonic Prime too. That was also on Netflix.
yeah. Well, there's
I
also
heard
one
that was
other
good.
thing we need to address in the room:
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
the passing of Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
Jerry. Sorry, I had to do
Now,
that.
yes, there are game show connections to Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first
He
of
was the host of The
all,
Price is Right live.
yeah. Well, we also got to
Oh
look
yeah.
at, you know, even before his talk show, Mayor of Cincinnati.
Yes,
Oh.
I think he was I think he was a lawyer as well too. Correct?
he was. He
Mm.
was a license. He was a practicing lawyer.
Yeah. Had his own judge show for a while.
For two seasons.
Yeah. Yeah, had
So
his talk show forever.
yeah,
Host of Baggage over on GSN.
Mm-hmm.
probably
And
the best thing he's done.
yeah, and of
Baggage
course
is probably the best.
yep, and of course in the UK he was Chuck Woolery's counterpart to the Tower of Greed.
Yep.
Yeah, that had to been interesting for, Jerry because, it's two different English. You have our American English and then you have the old British English. So
Yeah,
Yes.
I bet you that was pretty interesting for him.
It probably was.
right. But it played the same way.
Yep.
But it didn't last long. It only lasted a couple months over there.
Yeah.
Wow.
But then again, U.S. imports, with the exception of blockbusters, don't last long over there anyway.
Yep.
Mm.
I love the UK theme for Blockbusters. Don't get me wrong. That is one of my favorite themes.
Yes. Okay.
But now
Well,
we move on to what we're
The
all
show
here
that
to
we
talk.
all been waiting for. Yep.
Yep. Oh, shall we hop into our Tempest 1 and
all
go
right.
back in time?
Well, I don't know about a Tempest one. I'll just borrow the Doctor's TARDIS.
Yeah, that would be a good one. But
Yeah, or the DeLorean.
Or I'll just go collect the 7 time stones from the Miracle Planet.
all right. With that being said, let's get into tonight's subject, gentlemen.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We're talking about Press Your Luck here.
Mm-hmm.
Got its humble beginnings as a failed game show from the 1970s.
Hosted by
Yep.
the great Jim Peck.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he was a good friend. Jim Peck was a good friend of the show years ago.
Right.
Mm.
But Jim Peck hosted what became Press Your Luck, a show called Second Chance. And if you paid attention to it, you could see the beginnings of what we came to know as Press Your Luck. Brandon, take it away.
Yeah, there's no mistake in noticing all the similarities and differences of the two shows. Like, case in point, the question round. Contestants would have to write their answers down instead of the usual buzz-in. So this would mean that all 3 players have the opportunity of scoring the maximum of 3 spins per question. Now, even though there's only like 3 questions, but the maximum would be 9 for correctly guessing, and then they still get like 3 spins if they just take the second chance answers, hence the name of the show,
No, they got
which are
one for the
multiple
second
choice.
chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
still, I have,
Mm.
with the few episodes that are floating around, what you're saying is true. I have seen a few episodes where all 3 contestants in the opening round or in the big money
second question round.
second round
Yeah.
question round have got all 9 spins.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that change that was made to Press Your Luck to add in a buzz in, I think helps immensely.
Yep. That it does.
Mm-hmm.
Now saying that you addressed, how you got spins in second chance. Let's talk about the spins themselves. The board had only one pattern.
Yes, that is correct. Now, even though actually I learned something rather interesting, and it's thanks to a good website called Press Your Luck Board Configurations, and there's an article here. It states here that the show went on to include 9 patterns altogether, and that apparently ABC did not want to spend the money for more patterns. However, still 9 is better than the 5 that CBS provided. Also, that a contestant, believe it or not, all pretty much try to pull a Larson, as we call it. That he timed his spins well enough to pick up a lot of money. So that's why after that incident, ABC did pay for more patterns to be added to the board. So
But
that was very interesting.
it was too little too late. Somebody Larson, a contestant Larson, the second chance board. Now, if you've never seen Second Chance, the randomizer is extremely fast.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that thing's flying like a mile a minute.
I was gonna say it'll put the Tetris Grandmaster
Oh
players.
yeah. Oh yeah. Because I
Yes,
mean,
there,
I've
there's
seen
a
I've
there was
seen
a
a
touch
few YouTube videos on those Tetris Masters, and holy crap, to play on the fly like that,
with gravity at level 20.
whoo.
Yeah, that's what the gravity's at, G20.
high as it can get. High as it-
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, let there's only a handful of episodes that are floating around of
Well-
Second Chance.
Well, pretty much only 4. One of which is the third pilot, which features Jack Champion and Maggie Brown, which we'll probably be talking to when we transition to Press Your Luck.
Yep.
Right.
Then there were 3 regular episodes. Now, unfortunately, one is only in audio form. Apparently, they somehow couldn't record it properly or something. I don't know what the story is. But you could also see the difference between the pilot and what finally went on the air, especially since 2 of them are in the late run of the show. And it mentions that the Square 4 in the second round had a egg crate display that would shuffle between $1, $2, $3, $4, and $5,000 with a free spin.
But that was the only free spin available.
Yep, that was
Yep.
the only one out of the entire board.
And if you're familiar with the show, that's sometimes contestants would be forced to hit that square to keep the game going. Otherwise,
Mhm.
you were mathematically eliminated.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That problem was fixed later on when the
Right.
show was revived.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Now you could, like I said, you could see the beginnings of Press Your Luck in Second Chance, like you said, Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Do you
And I-
think? Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, and I've actually gotten to see those episodes, including the pilot.
Well, luckily you can find them on YouTube. So.
Yeah, that's why I watched it. I watched the ones
Okay.
on YouTube.
Yeah, because
Now-
actually I got them up in my tabs right now.
All right, Brandon.
Hmm.
There were 4 squares on the Second Chance game board that gave you prizes. Do you think that was a little excessive, or do you think there should have been fewer prizes on the board?
That's a little bit of a tough guess.
I would
but-
say, for me, I would say 4. That's fine because you only had one pad. The board didn't shuffle.
Yeah, I think I could see that. Yeah.
Anyway, it still had the same odds of Press Your Luck. 1 out of
Right.
every 6 spins, you would land on the character in the game that you didn't want, the devil.
Yep, the devil. Mhm.
Remember, if the devil
E-
comes,
Even though it's kind of interesting that it's still 1 in 6, despite having only 3 spaces on the board dedicated to him.
yeah,
But still,
That is
it's-
real interesting.
Yeah, it's still real interesting, but it was still 1 in 6 spins. But there were cases where a contest. Now here's the thing: I've seen contestants in the 4 episodes I've seen pass 6, 7 spins to a contestant, and they dodge the bull and they
Oh yeah.
dodge the bullet every
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
That's
It-
unheard of.
it's happened on press. Remember?
I know
Oh,
it's
yeah.
happened on press, but with
I-
the way that randomizer bounces on Second
Oh
Chance,
yeah, with that thing being ramped up to an 11, yeah.
yeah, to
you
11
see-
screen,
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, you see my amp over here in the corner of my room. Actually, it goes all the way up to an 11. There,
Better start making that a 12 now.
and then it goes all the way down to a -1.
Oh Jesus.
but
You have a strange sound system, my friend.
yeah,
No, I just have a strange amp.
Okay.
all right, but let's take a sec and put it this way and talk about this.
Mm.
in general, Second Chance only lasted 1 year.
Oh, so
Well, at
it
least a
lasted the
few. Well,
full.
no, a few months. Let's
Lasted
see.
only 1 season. Yeah. Not even
Mar-
a 1 season.
Yeah, from March 7th to July 15th of 1977. And of course,
So
the pilot was from 1976.
so was
So I
that
don't.
more than 13 weeks?
Yes.
All right, so it dodged the 13 week.
Yeah, the stinkers.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't. It definitely wouldn't make Cindy Solomon's list.
No, I didn't know she made a list of gone
I
in
think it's
13,
what. More like I think it was at 26 weeks or something. I don't
26
remember.
weeks or less. Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, the damage was done.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that was yeah, due to some of the, CBS soap opera like Young and the Restless, which was getting into the ratings during the fourth season. And then of course, as you know, some of the networks uh preempted for local newscasts because it was in the 12 o'clock time slot, 12
The,
noon time slot.
yeah.
People
Right.
want to watch their 12 o'clock news.
The same
So it
thing.
was really not.
The same thing happened to Go.
Yeah. Of
That,
course,
that's
we'll
almost
talk
that's almost as bad as putting a show in the late night time slot where it really gets killed.
Yeah. But then
Or
again, that's
or putting it up against the juggernauts of Wheel of
Price
Fortune,
and
Jeopardy,
Jeopardy.
and
Yep.
Price.
yeah.
Hmm.
But ultimately, your thoughts on Second Chance, Brandon? Did it work? Did it not?
Well, I think it did work. I think Bill Carruthers had something there. And when he made the changes that were made that we saw on Pressure Lock, it really took off. So I think Bill Carruthers had something there.
Yeah, I
Now,
agree.
Scott, did it work?
I agree with
Oh
what
yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
agree. Yeah, I
Mhm.
agree with what Brandon said. There,
Okay.
we you know we started to see the inklings of press take form. It,
Hmm.
you know, the eggs were laid.
Hmm.
We just
I
needed
mean,
it to.
it would really be nice if we saw more, but unfortunately, as we know that during the 1970s, they had to erase the tapes in order to save money because those things were expensive as all hell back in the day.
And that hurt.
Yeah,
You know,
Oh yeah, that
only
hurt
a
a lot.
handful of producers made sure their episodes were protected.
Mark
Hmm.
Goodson, Bill Todman
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
being one, I believe. I think what Barry and Enright, were they another?
Oh.
Later.
Oh, hello.
All right, folks, it's live radio. What
Yep.
can you do? Hold
It
on
might it
one
might
second.
it might be it might be Jimmy Kimmel calling him saying that someone needs help. Saying someone needs help with $1 million question.
No, no, I don't think so, my friend.
I'm you did say it was live
Yeah,
radio, so anything could happen.
yeah,
Yep.
no, we,
Yeah.
it, it's going, it's fixed for now, but
That's good. All right.
Hmm.
So now
the
we get
rest
into
of it is still there. Repair guys are still here working on the damage.
Mm.
Will do, sir. You have a good day. Good night, sir. Bye bye.
Well, it's a good thing we weren't having dinner.
Sorry, guys.
yeah.
I had to take
Yeah,
that call. It's like we said, it's live radio,
Yep.
and that call I had to take. That was my bishop.
Oh, all right.
No problem, Dave.
Okay.
Bishop to queen pawn 4.
Uh,
Bishop threatens queen.
okay. Now, we fast forward a few years, and that brings us to 1982. Reports coming out Bill Carruthers is gearing up for a revival of Second Chance.
Hmm.
Now, here's my question: when the remake for when Pressure Luck was in its infancy, like now, was Peter the first choice to host it?
Yeah, that's an interesting
It
question.
was the That is an interesting question. Unfortunately, one I don't have the answer to.
Yeah, I think maybe oh, what's his name? Because I know he's on one of the Pressure Luck fan pages. Oh, Rick Stern. I think he might know.
Right.
Adam Needif might know too. I mean, we could always ask him.
Again, subject for another time.
Right, and Adam's always been
Yeah.
a good game show historian, writing up about all of these biographies about Bill Cullen. I think he wrote one on Johnny Olson.
He did. No, that was Randy West that wrote the
Oh,
one
that
on
was Randy.
Johnny
Yeah.
Olsen.
Right. Right.
Shout out,
Well,
shout out,
sort
shout out there to Randy
of.
West and his new book about Inside TV there. So if you haven't picked up your copy yet, and please do so.
Yeah.
And also, speaking about of our good friend Adam here, starting May 10th on ABC, his 4 episode documentary called The Game Show Show. And he'll be having interviews with a whole bunch of people. So that's something to look forward to.
Yep.
So shout out to Adam for that.
And as we say in the business, check your local listings for date and time of those episodes when they air.
And channel as well.
And yeah,
Yep.
well, had to throw
All
in the
right.
old check your local listings for that.
Hmm.
But anyway,
Yep, and we wish him well with that show too.
we do.
Mm.
Of course, Adam Native, uh, he's another subject for another time, but Adam Native is, he's a pretty decent guy.
Mm.
One that we would love, if Adam, if you're watching this at a later date, we would love to have you on the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, I would love to meet him too.
Now, we had him on the original podcast for what was supposed to be our series finale, but the show got renewed, and the rest is history.
Right.
Hmm.
Okay. So anyway, changes came to Second Chance that Bill Carruthers did, and the show became what we know as Press Your Luck.
Hmm.
Brandon, take it away.
Well, pretty much what you saw is what you get. All those changes that were made pretty much help improve the show, especially the big board itself. Now, instead of having just stationary slides, all 18 of them are constantly changing. The board speed turned down just a hair, but still strong enough for someone not to pull a Larson, despite the fact that we kind of learned that the hard way that it was done by the late Michael Larson.
Yep.
But other than that, it was such a solid show from 83 to 86, and then reruns on the USA Network in the 90s. And unfortunately, the reruns got pulled off and whatnot. So
Then we had
pretty much what
GSM
you
pick
saw.
it. Then GSM
Yeah,
picked it up.
yeah, they did. Even though we had to deal with the dreaded credit crunches and all that jazz. But other than that, Pressure Luck was such a solid, solid show.
Yes.
Now, understand one thing. When we talk about Pressure Luck, in the 1980s, this show was the richest game show on TV. If you were going to go on a game show to win cash or prizes, this was the one you probably were better off going on.
Yeah, because I think like getting on like Price is Right, that's sort of a little bit difficult because I mean you got to stand in a line for hours, like at least as early as 3 in the morning,
Yeah.
freezing in the California cold air at times, and all that stuff. Oy. Thank God I never tried to attend any of the tapings of Price, even though I've always wanted to go on Price, but never
Same
gotten
here.
around to it.
Now, understand one, also understand another thing. When Peter said we are television's most competitive game, he was not
Oh yeah,
lying.
he was not joking one bit.
And that's the same thing I say when I get up there and do this in front of millions of anime fans every year.
Mm-hmm.
I just change it to insert name of convention here, and we are that convention's most competitive game where three otakus will take big risks for big bucks.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we pretty much do that with my crew too.
Yep.
Now, now, the winning when the show first premiered in 1983, and it changed later on. And we'll talk about why it had to change later on.
Mm-hmm.
The CBS capped the winnings at $25,000. Anything more you could keep, but if you hit 25,000, you were retired as a champion.
Yeah, and but of course they also did kept the 5-day rule if you did not cap at that 25.
Right.
Yep. And as Peter would say, we do have to say goodbye to you, but you are leaving us. We will put you into the Hall of Fame
Mm-hmm.
for Press Your Luck. That was weird because Press Your Luck was one of those shows that did not have a tournament of champions.
I mean, it would have
One
been
was
interesting if they
proposed.
did.
One was proposed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one was proposed.
Hmm.
But it's another subject here in a few minutes. Why it didn't come to fruition. One was proposed. A tournament of champions for Press Your Luck was proposed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the first retired champion on Press Your Luck, the very first person to win the most you could win on that show at the time is legendary game show announcer Randy West. He was
Cool.
the very first retired champion.
And he was also the first to win the car, too.
Yes, he
Mhm.
was. As a matter of fact, that's the reason he had to retire, is because he won the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like in the one German version of the show. Hopefully, we'll talk about in a future time. But let me briefly talk about it. That if you win the car, you automatically win the game, regardless of the outcome of the game. So that's something interesting to talk about in a future show.
Yeah, we will talk about that.
Mm.
As in the German version, of course, you avoided the sharps, not the whammy.
And
Yeah.
there was
Well, and
one
also don't forget the vultures in 1992.
Yeah.
right. And there was one version of Press Your Luck that is so elusive that no one can find an episode of it.
The UK. Yep.
The UK version.
And
So if there's any UK fans out there watching this, check your tapes.
Yes.
Please check your tapes.
I mean,
Yeah,
we are lucky enough to find episodes from the land down under.
At least 2 episodes.
Yep.
Okay. Now, we've talked about. Now we're talking about. You can't talk about Press Your Luck without talking about this man,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
the legend, the man that there were not many retired champions in the history of Press Your Luck.
No,
There were
it's
not
not.
many. There were a few, but not many. But when you talk Press Your Luck, you got to talk about the man that beat the system.
Mm-hmm.
The man, the
Oh.
myth, the legend.
Yeah.
Michael James Larson.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, something we'll talk about a little later. And we'll talk about in part 2 of this episode, part 2 of our Press Your Luck discussion. You know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whammy and Press Your Luck 2019. We'll talk about those in a future date.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Michael Larson, if you've never heard of this man, I'm going to give you a brief background.
Mm-hmm.
Unemployed ice cream truck driver from Ohio. But this man, according to most documentaries about this subject,
But
there was more to Michael.
there's only one, and that's the definitive one that was hosted by the great Peter Tomarkin himself when he brought back the 2 contestants on the same show and everybody that worked on the show as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. We're referring to the GSN documentary, and I think it was the very first documentary that GSN did.
Yep.
Big Bucks, the Press Your Luck scandal.
Yep.
Now, what Michael Larson was doing is he videotaped a bunch of game shows, but he also videotaped a lot of other things, looking for something he didn't know.
Well, primarily get rich quick schemes, primarily.
Right. But he focused in on Press Your Luck.
Mm-hmm.
And what he did is still amazing to this day. He saw what no one else saw at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And Brandon, I'll let you take it away from here.
Yep.
Well, given with the technology of the time, having a VCR that has like slow playback or even frame by frame, when Michael Larson taped the episodes of Press Your Luck, he discovered that there were patterns associated with the big boards bouncing light. So, with that knowledge that he was armed with, and I think what was it, 10 cents from a Goodwill
25.
store, 25 cents. Thank you.
Thank you.
From a Goodwill store, he went to California on a bus and managed to get on the show.
Now, here's one thing. The contestant coordinator at the time, he said, I did not want to book him.
Yeah, he felt very uneasy with Larson.
Yeah,
but unfortunately, as we know, Bill Carruthers had the final say.
And then Bill booked him. The rest is history.
Yes.
And it's the only 2-part episode of the show.
In the history of the show.
Yep.
Now, this is where the Tournament of Champions was proposed.
Yeah, because actually, come to think of it, I heard that Michael Larson himself tried to propose that idea, and they just flat out shot it down.
Yeah. But the thing about it is what contestant coordinators and what Bill Carruthers told CBS. Bill Carruthers warned CBS something like that could happen. He said 6 patterns, somebody is going to crack it.
Mm-hmm.
He gave that warning specifically.
So who was it that ordered them to have the 6 patterns? Was it CBS or was that Bill's doing?
CBS. It was CBS's doing because CBS was not willing to pay for more patterns.
Mm-hmm.
Just like ABC was only willing to pay for 1 pattern, CBS was only willing to pay for 6. Under the guise, no one would be able to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But Michael Larson, he cracked it. Now,
Yep.
Brandon, for our listeners that do not know what Michael actually did, he found the hole in the system. What
Mhm.
Tell our listeners that are new to this rather new subject
Well,
how Michael did it.
Well, as I first already mentioned, the fact that he used recordings of the show and play it back at slow speed. But here's the thing on the technical side of the show, back in the 70s and 80s, because since we mentioned the patterns in Second Chance, the technology for true randomness didn't exist at that point in time. So what they did was is that they program a list of numbers, 18 to be precise, and they would cycle through these numbers over and over again. So that way, no one would ever really suspect that it's not random. That it was kind of like a pseudo random, as it were. And unfortunately, with Michael and using the technology of playback, slow speed, he was able to figure it out.
Yep.
Do you want to expand on that a little bit, or can I keep going?
I'll take it from here because this
Okay.
this is where we kind of need Elliot for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
We kind of need
Okay.
Elliot for this, but
But I think
from a guy
I
who's
pretty much sum up the basic gist of the whole
yep.
idea.
And to quote the game show reviewer on this, once you see this,
You cannot unsee it.
like like the arrow in the FedEx
The
logo.
FedEx logo. Yep.
Yep. All right. So
Now, go ahead.
going by our picture that we have up here in the background for the episode, this is the big board. All 18 squares of her glory. Michael jumped into action whenever. Now, there were two squares he noticed that never had a whammy: Square 4
The
and
big buck square.
Square
Hmm.
4 and Square 8.
Yep.
If he could stop the light in one of those two squares, he knew he was going to win. He didn't care what he
And
won, he knew he was going to win something.
also on top of that, it's always an additional spin. So the whole reason why he was able to keep spinning is that he was gaining one more off of the board itself.
Yep. To quote Peter, you couldn't sell those spins.
You couldn't even give away those spins.
Yep.
If you looked at the unedited version of those episodes, and they are available on YouTube, you can hear, you know, and one of the things that that uh, that Bill Carruthers said, according to the press release, according to Big Bucks, Bill Carruthers said to Peter Tamarkin, "Peter, just keep it going." Peter knew something was wrong, and Peter said back, "This
He's
guy's
gonna
going to walk away with the network."
Yep.
right. So what happened was, and this is the main pattern. This is the pattern everyone who watches Press Your Luck knows. It started when he saw the light go off in Square 2. From 2, it went to 12. From 12, it went to 1. I gotta remember the pattern, that's why.
2, 12, 1, 9,
9,
4.
4.
194.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm gonna start playing those numbers in roulette now. Yep. So it went 2, 12, which was the big buck square, 1, 9, and then 4. And he had to not only know that pattern, he had to know all 5 patterns under the lights with the audience cheering him on and with Peter in his face.
And had to
Mhm.
pick one of them and had to know which one was running at that time.
Yep. I mean, you have to have a brain almost equivalent to a supercomputer
I was gonna
to
say,
like.
I was gonna
remember
say
all of
maybe
that.
like Data from Star Trek.
But what he did was outstanding. To
Oh yeah,
know,
yeah.
to pick one, to know which one of the five randomness was being used, and know when to pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because even though, as we know, that it's a little bit different to practice at home than being on the real show because of the time delay between hitting that button and the board actually coming to a full complete stop. Because I think, as we noticed, that on his very first spin, he hit a whammy.
I want to get a picture of you losing your money. Say cheese.
Folks, take a good look. He won't do it again for 45 spins.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a run of spins that even today has not been touched.
Right.
Much like Billy Crystal's 26 seconds up the pyramid.
Well, even though we're gonna probably put a footnote on that when we start talking about the 2019 version, because if I'm not mistaken, a contestant did actually beat his record, even though he did it legitimately and not
Yeah.
cheating like by knowing the patterns. Because as from what I know and understand, that the current big board that is operating is also Larson proof.
It is the board is totally random.
Yeah.
Bingo. So no matter how hard you try, you could not pull it off even if you tried.
Unless you got lightning fast reflexes to know when to exactly to stop that
Mm-hmm.
light on square 4
Mm-hmm.
to completely decimate that game.
Mm-hmm.
Now what he now what um what
Or they probably went into
Michael was
panic.
yeah,
They probably all went into panic mode after that.
they
Oh
did.
yeah. Because poor Peter was in complete and total shock, and he looked into the camera, basically probably looking at Bill Carruthers. What are we going to do? What are we supposed to do?
And like I said, he said this guy's gonna walk away with the network and Bill Carruthers said, just keep it going, we'll figure it out later. Now,
Who was responsible for paying him? Was that CBS?
yes, it was
Mm-hmm.
CBS.
Yep.
Now that's the other part of this story. What
Mm-hmm.
CBS thought we had a cheater on our hands, but
But no.
there's no rule that said, you know, there was no rule against how long you had to take a spin.
Right.
And also a rule of not paying attention to the game, because that's essentially all he did was just pay attention to the game.
Yep.
Yeah, so they went ever through every single ramification they could think of to try to nail Michael Larson on this, but nothing, nada. They had no choice but to pay him out.
Yep.
One, two, $110,237. Now keep in mind, a lot of that, a lot of that is money, but some of that is in trips.
He won a trip to the if I remember correctly, his last spin was the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With that
Yeah.
money, you could buy the Bahamas, is what Peter said.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's the only contestant ever to break the scoreboard.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That
Wh-
dollar sign had to move over in order for that one extra digit to be added.
Yeah. Now, what happened because of the aftermath from that?
The board immediately went undergo severe changes.
Yep, there was an emergency change on June 20th, 1984.
So, question,
Um,
because of that episode being a Friday and a Monday, what happened with the remaining 4 episodes the week like starting with the episode after that Tuesday, so Tuesday to Friday, what happened then? Did they just play out the rest of those they had to use those patterns for the rest of those episodes, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I
Yeah,
think I would
they.
believe so. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. David, so
Yeah,
what
because
happened?
then. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So,
All right.
David, what happened with those Tuesday to Friday episodes after, in the aftermath of Larson?
They aired.
They,
They had no. They
yeah.
had no choice but to air them. It's
Now,
just
was that was still with the original patterns, right?
Mm-hmm.
yes. But as soon as those episodes aired, eh, those episodes were already in the can.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They had to air as they were filmed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But like um, like Brandon was saying, an emergency meeting was called.
Yeah, probably
And
before they started taping on June 20th.
right. And they said we have to put more patterns on the board effective immediately. The reason being is that they had discovered other contestants had figured out the secret.
Uh oh.
Yeah, but I don't think we will ever know who those players were.
But they knew other players had figured out the secret of the board, and
Mm-hmm.
thus immediate changes had to be made.
Yep. And then, of course, actually, they did a cautionary change on July 31st of 1984 just to make sure no one was catching on to the new emergency changes.
Right.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it quickly almost it went from a list. It went from 5 patterns to 32 patterns of 18 squares.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
thus other squares were changed, other things were changed, slides were changed to try to prevent such a thing from happening again.
Right.
Right.
Now now the tournament of champions that was proposed, from what I understand, yes, it was Michael Larson that proposed,
Mm-hmm.
but it was completely shot down because they thought Michael Larson has already, memorized the 32 patterns at the time.
Yeah, but I don't think there would have been any way in hell he would have remembered all 32. Bad enough he
Right,
had to remember 5 of them, but 32? Yeah, no. There would have been no way he would have been capable of doing that.
right.
Not unless if you're one hell of a robot, like Yoko said, you had to be Lieutenant Commander Data from Star Trek to pull something like that.
Yep.
Yep.
Now,
Oh yeah.
shortly after Michael Larson won his money, because CBS was required to pay him the full 100, the cash and the prizes. He won
Hmm.
it all. He got to keep it all. But there is a sad end to this story, and Brandon, I'll let you take it from here, my friend.
Well, pretty much what we have learned. He invested some money in some more get rich quick schemes, which all ultimately failed. He even took all the money out because there was a radio contest where if you were to match the serial number on one particular dollar bill, you would win a lot of money. But unfortunately, they went to a Christmas party because I think this was around Christmas time. They left a lot of sack of money out in the open, and somebody managed to break into the house and steal some of that money. Not all of it, but some of that money. And then, from my understanding, his common law wife, if not his wife, left him. Luckily, she had like $5,000 of that money, so she was able to leave. She told Michael to, get out of her life and whatnot. And then, as we all know, ultimately, well, basically, like around 1997, Michael Larson started to develop throat cancer. So, because he was seen on Good Morning America, where he talked about his run on Pressure Luck, and his voice was so raspy that it was due to throat cancer, and then a few years later, he passed away.
Now, according to Big Bucks, the Pressure Luck scandal, uh, he near the end of Michael's life, he tried to make things right with the people he hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Now we now I know according to the Big Bucks, he tried to make things right with his son. His son wanted nothing to do with him.
Yep.
We have no way of knowing who else he approached.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's heartbreaking. It really is. You know that we don't even we're not aware of uh, of even if he even talked, even if his daughter Jennifer had anything to do with him near the end of his life.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer is mentioned in the episodes in question because he is told he told Peter, I really didn't have the money to send Jennifer any to buy Jennifer any birthday gifts. He said she'll
Yeah,
get
yeah,
something.
his daughter, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but that is the sad part of it.
Yep, the ultimate whammy.
Yep.
Hmm.
Scott, you're gonna expand on this. Scott, you there?
Oh, did we lose him?
I don't know. Let me check. Scott, buddy, you there? I hope we haven't been talking to dead air here.
uh, yeah, because I
Okay.
mean, okay.
I hope not. You know, and if we are still on the air, we got about 20 minutes left, folks. If you want to get on the conversation, just hop on Twitch. Just hop on our Twitch channel, and we'll bring in. And if we are talking to dead air, we will be doing this episode again, obviously.
Yeah.
But you know, uh, the turn Jamie and Ed, I think, were the two contestants on that episode. Were the other two contestants. Ed was
Yeah.
the returning champion.
Yeah, Ed Long, the returning champion, and of course he was a pastor. And then Janie Leatrice, I think her last name was. I forget what her occupation was.
I think she was a nurse.
I think so too.
Now, these two would be brought back two other times.
Mm-hmm.
Once in once for Whammy, the all new Pressure Left,
Yeah, for
and
the
once
written rematch.
for the rematch. And the rematch and another rematch on Pressure Left 2019.
All being another rematch in the 2019 version. I had not heard or seen of that.
I thought there was two rematches. I know of the one on.
Yeah,
Got
the
you there
one.
with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you guys hear me now?
Okay. I hope we
Yep.
weren't
I had
talking on
to.
dead air for a spell.
No, you weren't. I threw it over. You guys, I could still hear you. You guys were still talking. We weren't talking to dead air. Um, I was gonna pose the same question to you guys, to everybody in the group during that scandal. Do you think that us talking about his episode and everything, with what happened, not even behind the scenes, just about what happened during his episode, his incredible run, do you think he would appreciate, us talking about what he did on that show?
Well, I would think so, because I mean, it's a lasting legacy. He left behind a legacy to be well remembered as someone who did pretty much the impossible on a game show for the most part. And I feel that it's very, very respectful because, we haven't said anything bad. Because, I mean, we did mention that they tried Michael for cheating, but like I said, they tried every legal ramification they can think of to throw at Larson, but there was nothing to catch him on. So, since we didn't really say anything bad about Michael Larson, I honestly think that we have done him absolute justice.
Okay.
And yeah. And it wasn't. And the thing about Michael Larson, in conclusion, is he was a character. He's
Yep.
just a piece of game show fandom. His record stood for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
His daytime game show record stood for 30 years.
Yeah. Now, even though, truth be told, if I'm not mistaken, somebody on The Price is Right did actually beat the record for CBS all time, but we're talking about Pressure Luck in general. Yes, the record has stayed that way for as long as it did until the 2019 version.
Right. Yeah, and it was Jamie Leachers was her last name. She was a dental assistant for to quote from our episode, a crazy Polish dentist when wa- and Ed, I think, was a Baptist
He was a
minister.
pastor.
He was a pastor, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was a
Because that's
Baptist
why,
minister. Yeah.
Yep.
yeah, because that one question that came up that he better know the answer or he was a dead duck.
Oh, about the E-cup braziers.
No, 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 no. About who
Oh,
had
about
to
the
pay
wedding.
for the wedding.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But of course,
I think he said
he had the
something.
strange puppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Now later on, uh, in because of
Oh,
Michael's untimely passing, it was his brother James that that represented the Larson family in the rematch.
Yep.
Yep.
Mhm.
Oh, one other thing we didn't talk about, the day the the slides exploded.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I recall that one. Episode, I think, where one of the studio light bulbs blew. Now, of course, he didn't hear it, but Peter did call attention to it.
No, my favorite one was when Peter walked over to the big board, and you saw this piece of fabric fall down. He said, they got the wardrobe guy.
They ate him.
It was
Yeah,
such a nice guy too.
Yeah, the infamous Sylvester Rest in Peace Wardrobe Man episode.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was the exact same episode when he went up to the big board and asked if there was anybody there, and you see that Wardrobe Man article of clothing.
Now, even back then, did the contestants have to provide their own wardrobe for the show?
Oh, I think so.
yeah.
I think they have to bring their own spare change of clothing.
Yeah, they
So
had to.
that way they look different in each episode.
And the off chance that they are crowned champion, they have to. Yes.
Hmm. But if it's a one and done deal for them, then yeah, they didn't need to.
Right. But they still will require you to bring it just in case.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So what happened with the slides changing from the ones we knew to the neon ones that ran to the end of the show?
That happened. That happened between the 1985 and 1986 seasons.
So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
pretty
the
much
I think
like
that was
late in the run.
because yep. I was gonna say what that was because of the slides exploding or something.
Hey, Logan.
Perhaps.
Oh,
Hey
we got
Logan.
Logan in here.
Yep, he's on mute. Let him be.
Okay. All right.
Yep. But I think what that was because the slides exploded or something.
Probably, maybe. Even though that rarely ever happened, because if a contestant were to stop the board on a blank square, they would just redo the spin and just edit that particular spin out.
Right.
As long as it didn't really change the outcome of the game, which normally it don't because there was nothing there. So
Right. So I want to ask this: how did for '84, and I guess we'll close out on this. How did that board work?
Mhm.
It
Oh,
was
yeah, go ahead.
all right. Next to Scrabble. Next to Scrabble, that was the most expensive game show set ever. Next to Scrabble.
Okay.
They were 18 slide projectors behind that board. Each one in a different to make the square. Okay. Each one of those slide projectors was loaded with the three possibilities that square could have. And they would just run this thing, and it was a technological marvel. When they put this board into motion, it's for most part it was flawless. You could not tell that it was just, you know, 18 slide projectors wired together. That's all it
Right.
was.
Yeah.
There was no computer. There was no computer. There was no Apple. No nothing. This was all a manual piece of
hmm
technological marvel.
Right.
Yeah. The only thing that was run by the computer were the scoreboards and the bouncing light.
Yep.
And of course, not to mention the whammy pop-up cards.
Yep.
Yep. Because they
'Cause
pulled that.
we
They
saw
pulled.
that
Yeah, we saw that come out of storage for the documentary.
documentary. Yep.
Yep.
hmm
They pulled that out of storage and actually ran it. It's still in the archives at CBS.
Oh
Even though
wow.
come to even though come to think of it, they might have pulled it out for the short, brief reappearance in 2006's game show Marathon. I think even that one was still using the original control board.
Yep.
Well, that's something we'll have to talk off the record about.
Yep.
Or at least in the second part, because since that took place between Whammy and the 2019 version.
Right.
Right.
And we will talk about that in part two of this discussion at a later date next week, folks. And with that, folks, we will wrap this episode up. Brandon, great first episode with us.
Yep.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me again. And of course, as the saying goes from Peter to Markin, thank you for pressing your luck. Bye bye.
Yep.
Folks, next week, well, our next broadcast, I can't say it'll be next week, but our next broadcast will be our discussion about The Price is Right.
Okay.
Ooh, that's
will be
probably going to
talking
be a
about
fun one.
Yep, we will be talking about The Price is Right now and then. From
Now being April 2013, 2023, then being January 1st, 1972. I had to plug the old now and then board.
One of the games that is still played on The Price is Right. We
Yep.
will talk about all of that next time.
Yep.
So, folks, until then, I'm David.
I'm Yoko.
And I am BM Hedgehog.
And
We'll see you next time, folks.
Yep.
Bye bye.
And
Take care.
yep, again, thank you for pressing your luck. Bye bye.
Yep.